Shielding up the crunch, Quagsire needs to put in a lot of work. The opponent gonna be sending out Golbat and hashtag there's no baits. On this channel, does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. Quagsire now gonna be able to mudshot farm down. This is only a Poison Fang, and Quagsire looking strong to close. Welcome back to the home of Shadow Pokemon. My name is Jamie Finn, 1415. I was the first documented trainer in the world to reach legend only using Shadow Pokemon. This season we're going to be mixing up, not completely using Shadows. I did start the season using Lurantis, however some habits die hard. After 7 battles I decided, do you know what, last season I made a team with Galvantula, Sableye and Swampert, and in my opinion it was the strongest Shadow team you could possibly run. Quagsire's been buffed, it's got the same typing as Swampert. Let's see if it functions as well. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1 I lead Galvantula into Swampert. The opponent lets me get to the lunge. Before they throw a Hydro Cannon, I debuff the opponent pivot into Sableye. You can see I've got a beautiful 0-15-15. Them IVs tank that debuffed Hydro Cannon really well. The opponent now sends out Sandslash. Sandslash shields the foul play. The opponent looking to Powder Snow. Farm us down. Sableye says, I think not. Sableye fires off the next foul play. The opponent commits to shield and it's a Simul KO. Shadow Sableye, if you don't know, it is an absolute monster. The opponent sends back out Swampert and Galvantula needs to start shielding. The thing is with Galvantula, it's really annoying. I have the potential to debuff whatever they've got in the back, so I'm going to double shield the Hydro Cannons. I am mindful the opponent might switch, so I'm going to throw one extra Volt Switch, fire off the lunge. Lunge will be taking care of Swampert. The opponent's final Pokemon is Heracross, a nice spicy start to the season, however they're not going to appreciate the discharge. Discharge near one shots, and as I've made this Quag, we need to get in the mud shot and take that game. Moving on to the next one. We see a Lowland Sandslash in the lead, not particularly great for Galvantula as they do outpace me. I'm going to shield up the Ice Punch. I'm hoping that because I've shielded, the opponent thinks I want to debuff them. However, we're going straight discharge. Does the opponent respect the damage? Sadly, they do. I am now going to get outpaced, and at this stage, I'm just going to let Galvantula go down. Ice Punch does return me to my Pokeball. It's now time for Quag. The opponent switches out into Cresselia, and here comes Sableye. They take 7 to the first Moonblast, so I am going to get outpaced. However, I did switch fairly quick, so I am going to be able to double up on charge moves with the opponent. Shields the first foul play. I'm going to win CMP on the second. Let's see if the opponent commits the shield. They do not. Cresselia gets taken out, back out, comes Sandslash. This foul play is going to do a lot of damage if the opponent lets it go. The opponent chooses to shield this up, even if this is the new Drill Run. Our Sableye will tank it. The opponent full sends the Drill Run. And I'm now going to look to overfarm slightly. Fire off the foul play. Foul play will be taken care of. Sandslash Sableye is pretty low, but they've got Metachan in the back. And again, IVs matter. This foul play going to be doing massive damage to Metachan, and Quagsire is easily going to be able to come in, tank the Psychic if the opponent makes it. And Mud Bomb should be pretty much all she wrote. Metachan does survive, and likewise, we will survive the Psychic. Quagsire has decent bulk, I suppose, compared to Galvantula, and that is going to be all she wrote. In the next battle, we see the Pesky Tree, a Pokemon that has been nerfed somewhat. A Seed Bomb is more expensive, however, with the Ice-type buff, I think it's actually got more play because there's not going to be as many knocked out. The opponent makes a great catch, catching the lunge on the Sandslash, however, don't get mad. Get even, I catch the Ice Punch on the Quagman. We are going to be able to outpace to the Mud Bomb. I go for a no bubble because I do want to take one more Ice Punch. However, it still knocks out Shadow Quag. Not messing about when Trevadent does return. They are going to need to Seed Bomb before we throw the Stone Edge, and that's exactly what the opponent does. They are now 2 Shadow Claws away from the Shadow Ball, so I know I can come in to the Spider. If they throw immediately, it's only a Seed Bomb. I come in, throw the Volt Switch. This is CMP to the Shadow Ball. Trevadent used to having its own way in CMP, however Galvantula does win that CMP tie. Whatever they throw, I'm just going to tank it. The opponent full sends the Shadow Ball. We can now come into Sableye. I am going to shield once. Shadow Claw farm all the way down. The opponent only going to make one move, very unlikely to bait. Even debuff that Shadow Ball would do a lot of damage. The opponent's final Pokemon is the Flying Toilet, and we're going straight Power Gem. The opponent correctly shields up the first. However, we're so far ahead in energy. They're at the back-to-back, so are we. We shield this up after losing CMP, and this Power Gem is going to be all she wrote. Despite Quag getting the buff, you can see both Galvantula and Sableye in this new meta are absolutely ridiculously good. Moving on to the next one. Galvantula into Melmetal. We absolutely don't want to be tanking a Rock Slide. I think Melmetal is actually a pretty good anti-meta pick. It's good against stuff like Sandslash and Dewgong, which we expect to see everywhere, as they're probably the two best Pokemon from this update. I say switch into Sableye, the opponent answers with Scrafty. If you're stuck in this matchup as a Shadow Sableye, Power Gem is the correct play as it's only single resisted. You can see the opponent is going straight Power Up Punch, looking to vamp up their attack. The next Power Up Punch does take us out. Scrafty is now in a nice farm down range for Galvantula. I am going to respect the potential foul play, and finally the opponent does full send. We do now Volt Switch farm all the way down Melmetal. Did bank the Rock Slide, so we're going to look to catch it on the Quag. Let's see, did the opponent go straight for the Rock Slide? Yes, they did. Quag tanks that really easily. The opponent builds up some energy and send out Altaria. This is why Quagsire has some advantages over Swampert, as Stone Edge is really nice coverage. The opponent shields that up and they are going to throw energy immediately. I still have one Protect Shield. I'm going to put it all on the pesky Spider. We're only 2 Volt Switches away from the back-to-back charge moves. We're now there. Is double discharge enough to take care of Altaria? It most certainly will be, so I'm going to fire him off back-to-back. We are pretty low, however we're not in danger of getting Thundershock. Farm down, back out, comes Melmetal. The opponent should be looking to Thundershock farm us down, as they're just giving me free energy by throwing a charge move. However, I'm not complaining, and Galvantula is going to steal the spotlight once again. GG's, and thanks for playing, trainer. So what I personally noticed, starting this season, I actually saw a lot of meta teams and players that knew what they were doing, which obviously is better for me, trying to make content. However, did you all find the same, as usually I face stuff like Starmie on day one, which is really hard to make content, so I'm not complaining. In this battle, we saw the Nightmare League Galvantula into Steelix. We can only hit him for resisted. The opponent did debuff me and then send out Knockdown. I know I can't win back switch. I'm just going to allow Sableye to go down. The opponent did fire off the Sky attack immediately, so when I come into Galvantula, we are going to pace exactly the same to the charge moves. I'm going to fire off the lunge in case the opponent chooses to shield. They actually took the extra. The opponent still lets Knockdown go down. I pivot into Quag, and now, for the first time in the video, it's Quag's moment. Quag makes the Mud Bomb. The opponent commits a shield. The opponent is building up to what could be a Crunch rather than a Psychic Fangs. I've got 2 shields. I am going to invest one. The opponent full sends the Crunch, then pivot out into Golbat, another Pokemon that has been buffed and I really like. I full send the Stone Edge. The opponent calls the bait, and Quag now looking to close. This is only a Poison Fang. Poison Fang does do more damage now, but Quag tanks that fairly easily. I commit to the Mud Shot farm down. I throw one Mud Shot and the Mud Bomb. I need to pivot. I need to reset that debuff. Switch timer pops up. I send out Galvantula. I am going to look to tank whatever the opponent throws. We will survive the Psychic Fangs. I will be able to get off the lunge. This is going to lower the opponent's attack. Quagsire's on absolutely minimal HP. We need to survive one Dragon Tail. Quag comes in. We survive the Dragon Tail. We make the Mud Bomb, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see Galarian Stunfisk. My god, if I not missed you, you stupid bear trap. Terrible lead for Galvantula. I pivot into Sableye. The opponent looks to chip and dip with the Rock Slide. The opponent is continuing to stay in, so I fire off the Foul Play on the CMP tie to the next Rock Slide. Foul Play gets Stunfisk super low. I don't think I can Shadow Claw down in 5, so I'm just going to sack Sableye. I'm going to wait out my full timer. Despite the opponent not switching out, our switch timer will be popping up shortly, as we have thrown free charge when I come into Quag. The opponent fires off on 6. This is just a Rock Slide, so I know I tank it on Quag. I can now Mud Shot farm them all the way down, and Quagsire is absolutely loaded. It now becomes apparent why the opponent stayed in, as I've got another Galvantula counter in the form of Seismitoad. Quagsire has access to Mud Bomb this season, which has been buffed, and these Mud Bombs do actually quite a lot of damage. This next one is going to force a shield. The opponent looks like they're farming up to 1 bazillion energy. I know they have access to Muddy Water. I am going to respect a potential Earth Power. That's an easy bait for the opponent, as they know I don't want Galvantula line to Seismitoad. However, I know this is just another Muddy Water. I actually bank a Mud Bomb, pivot out into Galv. The opponent's got a Fire Spin Talonflame in the back, and this is going to be game over. We're both hitting each other for super effective. I fire off the discharge, returning them to their Pokeball. The opponent needs to Earth Power to take me out. The opponent does now full send. However, we've got the Mud Bomb locked and loaded, and we're going to be able to take that game. So I was saying I see fairly meta teams, and then just like that, we see some spice. But it is what it is, and you can see I did manage to go a nice 5-0 in that set. Heading into the next one, we see Mew in the lead. Mew has access to stuff like Flame Charge, however this is just a Surf. I am going to shield the first. As Galvantula Super Glassy, the opponent now sends out Metachan, and this is pretty good for me because I can easily outpace to the lunge. Mew did exit with 0 residual energy, so I debuffed the opponent. Send in Sableye. I'm just going to commit to a full Shadow Claw farm down. You can see a debuffed Ice Punch doesn't do a lot. The opponent is going to make another. But again, this is an easy tank, as they've got Mew in the lead. When I am so far ahead in energy, they're going to be forced to show their third. The opponent has a Dewgong in the back. I'm going to throw one Shadow Claw and the Foul Play. The opponent commits that shield. I'm not going to make 2 more moves, so this time I'm going to full send the Power Gem, looking to get all shields down off the opponent. The opponent does shield up. They do then Ice Shard farm us all the way down. I think the win con at this stage is just Galvantula, so sending Quag as the damage sponge. The opponent can throw whatever they want. They go for the Icy Wind. I'm still going to stay in, force the opponent to dump all their energy. Again, we can tank this move. However, I am going to shield it up, bank the Stone Edge for later. The opponent sends out Mew. We easily outpace to the lunge. Lunge will be returning Mew to their Pokeball. We're only 1 Volt Switch away from the discharge, and discharge is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see Defense Deoxys. Despite us hitting for neutral with the Volt Switch and us resisting the counters, this is fairly neutral, as Rock Slide would probably one-shot as I fire off the lunge pivot into Quag, looking to catch a Rock Slide. Even if they Psycho Boost, we can tank it. The opponent does full send the Rock Slide, and they now send out Dewgong. That's pretty interesting, as we have access to Stone Edge. So hopefully we are going to draw an early shield here. The opponent does shield it up. From this range, we can tank any one move. The opponent probably going to debuff us with an Icy Wind. Quagsire looks to throw one Mud Shot. I get some lag over tap, so I don't throw at the best timing. However, we still land, and I was probably only going to make 1 more move. It is what it is. If I'm being perfectly honest, I can't believe I've got for about 15 battles with very minimal lag. So to be honest, I'll give Niantic credit where it's due. I think they've done a pretty good job in fixing this game. I shielded up the Icy Wind. Left with loads of residual energy, I fire off the lunge. Again, I look to make a catch onto Sableye. Stay in school, kids. Learn to count. We're 2 for 2 on catching Rock Slides. The opponent sends out Umbreon, and my god, this is looking tricky. I can't shield Sableye. I know I'm going to have to save my shield for Galvantula. I really hope the opponent doesn't commit to the Snarl farm down. We're going to fire off a Power Gem, but my god, Umbreon with its 6 million HP is super bulky, and fuck my life, the opponent is going to Snarl farm me down. We throw the next Power Gem. Umbreon does leave with 2 moves. We sneak the Volt Switch. I'm really hoping the opponent's switch timer hasn't popped up. I'm going to fire off the lunge immediately on the CMP tie. Luckily for me, the opponent's timer isn't up. They don't catch. We're going to be able to Volt Switch, farm down Deoxys, and take a very, very close game. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see the fighter that needs to pull its fucking trousers up, Scrafty. The opponent fires off on a CMP, so they've only thrown 6 counters. This can only be a power-up punch. So the opponent shields, and I definitely don't need to shield. Power-up punch, definitely not the play. We are going to have to fire off 1 more lunge. The opponent again throws a power-up punch, and again, no shield from me. I'm going to throw 1 more Volt Switch and the lunge. If the opponent lets this go, this will knock out. The opponent actually chooses to double shield. So Power Up Punch is raising their attack and lunge is lowering it. So they're still only neutral. The opponent has enough for a foul play. However, they've thrown so many Power Up Punch I didn't want to shield. And now I'm going to be forced to shield a Power Up Punch the second time. Not great from me. I should have shielded the first one, but it is what it is. We are going to be able to Mud Shot, farm them down. The opponent sends out Swampert, and yikes. We're about to find out if 2 Mud Bombs knock out Swampert. It definitely doesn't, so I pivot into Sableye. We know Swampert hits like a truck, so I am going to shield up the Hydro Cannon, as I want to have some HP. For whatever's in the back, the opponent sends out the Bear Trap, and this is where you're going to see the power of Shadow Sableye. We fire off the Foul Play. This gets Stun Fisk really low. I then farm up throw the next foul play on the CMP side to the Earthquake, returning Stunfisk to their Pokeball, back out, comes Swampert. We're actually outside of Hydro Cannon range, so that Shadow Claw is going to take him out, and we're going to manage to take another dub. Moving on to the next one. Galvantula into Sableye. A matchup where we're both going to be investing shields. Lunge does a lot of neutral damage to Sableye due to their part dark typing. The opponent throwing at good timing. I am going to shield up the foul play. You can see the Shadow Claws are tearing me apart. I am worried the opponent is going to catch. However, I do want to get this move off before the opponent gets off theirs. The opponent chooses to double shield. They're not going to add to Shadow Claw, farm me down, so I'm just going to take my shield advantage. They're double debuffed on attack, so I'm going to come into Sableye, look to Shadow Claw, farm him down. The opponent sends out Dewgong. As all shields are down, I'm going to throw the Power Gem. Power Gem is super effective. It doesn't quite one-shot, so I'm going to catch the charge move on Quag. I'm hoping I can mud-shot, farm them down. However, they are probably too healthy. Sableye did exit with a move, so I don't throw him on Mud Bomb. I am going to shield this move up. Icy Wind does come through. Can I mud-shot farm him down? Probably not. I am going to fire off the Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb will be lethal. If Sableye does return, they are going to have to throw their charge move. The opponent chooses to come into Obstagoon, and this is where I'm going to take the first loss using this team. Mud Bomb doesn't do a lot, especially when we're double debuffed. I'm going to fire off the next Mud Bomb. It looks like, as this is two-stage debuff, 2 Mud Bombs would get them fairly low. I pivot out into Sableye, and there's absolutely nothing I can do. Night Slash gets me fairly low. The opponent goes for the Wham Bam combo play, and I eat some very nice humble pie. GG's to that opponent. Clearly that opponent has zero respect to charm, as that ABA weak to it. Moving on to the next battle, we see another really tough lead. Let's see if we can bounce back to winning ways. The opponent fires off the rock slide. They then chip and dip into Articuno. And the question is, does the opponent respect the damage? I full send the Power Gem. Hi Articuno, bye Articuno. Back out comes Stunfisk, and I'm going to fire off on CMP. This is best case scenario for me, as foul play does some pretty decent chip damage, and this Stunfisk is now energy dry. The opponent fires off the rock slide. You can see I don't wait out my timer, as this Stunfisk is now still switch locked. I fire off the Mud Bomb one before the Earthquake. The opponent chooses to shield this up, and I'm just going to match shields. As Earthquake would do a lot of damage, the opponent full sends the Earthquake. They need to pivot, which they do. Their final Pokemon is Swampert. Mud Bomb will put them into lunge range. We've both got a shield apiece, so I come into Galvantula, fire off the lunge. The opponent didn't fire off the Hydro Cannon first, so I can just save my shield for Quag. Lunge does draw the final Protect shield. Hydro Cannon isn't going to take me out. The opponent is going to add a Mud Shot, farm us down afterwards. However, the opponent throws. This game, if it wasn't already over, most certainly is now. This is going to allow me to shield once, Mud Shot, farm them down. The opponent makes the next Hydro Cannon. This is where I will invest my final Protect shield. We would easily survive a debuffed Hydro Cannon. They send out Stunfisk, looking to catch. I don't throw, and they concede the match. In the next battle, we see another Deoxys lead. This opponent chooses to fire off the Psycho Boost, which I think is the correct play, because it forces me to shield before they shield. The opponent stays in, so I throw 2 Volt Switches and the Lunge. They're now at the next Psycho Boost, so I'm going to instantly pivot into Quag. Every time you throw a Psycho Boost, it does lower your own attack, so that next Psycho Boost does pretty much nothing. The opponent now sends out Sableye. I'm not sure if Mud Bomb or Stone Edge is more energy efficient. However, it looks like 2 Mud Bombs do knock out. The opponent shows great knowledge of the counts, firing off the foul play on CMP. I'm going to allow Quagsire to go down. Galvantula hits really hard. I don't want to throw the lunge. I'm actually going to look to try and Volt Switch farm them all the way down. Come on, Galv, get there, buddy. Get there, get there. We do manage to farm all the way down. The opponent sends back out Deoxys. I throw 1 further Volt Switch and the lunge. I'm now absolutely maximising energy. The opponent lets it go, and then they send out Sand Slash. I'm going to full send the Discharge. The opponent chooses to invest the final Protect Shield, and Sableye now should have no problem cleaning up. This is Shadow and Shadow crime, but even a drill run, not going to be enough. We tank that. I then overfarm, probably for no reason whatsoever. Fire off the foul play. Foul play will be one-shotting, and that is going to be all she wrote. Moving on to the next one. Last season when I ran this team with Swampert, instead of Quagsire, Altaria was a huge headache. Galvantula is so glassy, we don't even make 2 discharges. The opponent shields the first, I pivot into Sableye. As I know I don't make the second move, I am going to have to shield up the Sky attack. The opponent gets themselves their shield back and send out Wigglytuff. I look to throw 4 Shadow Claws and the Power Gem. We get some great stutter lag and I can't even be arsed. I'm just going to concede and move swiftly on. Dreadful lead. Galvantula into the new buffed Wish Daddy Cash. Mud Bomb now does a lot of damage. We can tank 1. And then I'm throwing it really disciplined timing. I throw the Foul Play on the CMP tie. The opponent shields, so I will shield. So in this Wish Cash matchup, it takes them 5, then 4 to each Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb costs the same as Hydro Cannon, so it functions the same way. I'm going to throw again on the CMP. This time the opponent lets it go, and we cleanly win the 1 shield. The opponent now sends out Alolan Marowak. My god, they must be weak to Sableye. Foul Play. Draws the final shield, and the opponent is now going to Fire Spin Farm us all the way down. I send out Quag. The opponent can throw whatever they like, even a Shadow Ball won't be one-shotting. The opponent has no shield, so you're going to see me pause a turn. I wait for the Fire Spin animation to start, so the opponent can't make a catch. Mud Bomb does one-shot, and it's Registeel in the back, and the opponent concedes. Moving on to the next one. Another DD lead. Let's see if this person goes straight for the Psycho Boost. They actually allow me to get to the lunge. However, it is a CMP tie, so I am going to be forced to shield anyway. Even debuff, this does do a lot, and as the opponent stays in, I think Galv might be good against whatever they have in the back. And as I say that, the opponent sends out Umbreon, so I'm going to go straight for the lunge. Lunge will be super effective. The opponent lets it go, and I send in the Quagman. Quagman gonna tank these moves really easily. Umbreon doesn't hit particularly hard, especially now it's debuffed. I saw my faction's teammate Homeslice Henry post a team with Defense Deoxys, Umbreon and Dewgong, so they're triple weak to Galv, and that's the team that I'm calling here. Let's see if I'm right. We fire off the Mud Bomb, it doesn't knock out. I can easily tank this next move. I am going to look to Mud Shot farm them all the way down. The opponent sends out Deoxys, and I'm going to look to get that Dewgong onto the battlefield. We fire off the Mud Bomb. The opponent lets it go, and you see I'm spamming out into Galvantula. Come on, show me the Dewgong. No, we've made a dreadful call. Well, not a dreadful call, as it is quite a common team. However, it is definitely not a Dewgong in the back. It's actually a Guzzlord, and this game is now looking super terrible. As I am now switch locked, I'm going to need to make a catch at some stage to have any chance of winning this battle. I'm not going to shield the first crunch, as the second one will do more damage. Luckily for me, the opponent doesn't debuff me. The opponent attempts to make a catch. I don't throw. The opponent sends out Guzzlord. I full send the Power Gem, but it doesn't do enough damage. The opponent now Dragon Tail farms us down, and one Dragon Tail is going to take out Quag. GG's to that opponent. Sometimes when you're calling teams, you just call them wrong. Moving on to the next battle. We see the Mighty Blue Mouse Azumeril. Something I haven't seen all that often in recent seasons, however it is pretty good. The opponent save switched into Umbreon. I should have fired off the lunge as soon as I got it. That would have allowed me to switch out. However, I do tank the move, bank a discharge for later, and then send out Quag. So either way, we've got residual energy, but I think I would have rather kept the health on Galvantula. With the Mud Bomb buff, I know I asked earlier, I didn't know what was more energy efficient, so I've looked it up. Mud Bomb is 0.75 DP and Stone Edge is 0.74. So I suppose in neutral matchups, you just want to spam out Mud Bombs. However, in this situation, I'm only going to make one move to go for the harder hitting Stone Edge. Stone Edge draws the final shield. I'm not sure if Shadow Gramble gets one shot by a discharge. I fire off one Volt Switch and the discharge, maximising the amount of fast move damage I can do. Discharge does one shot, and I'm going to spam out into Sableye. I've still got 2 Protect Shields. When Umbreon does return, I won't be shielding anything, as Play Rough is the move to look out for. Foul Play is only neutral, and Play Rough is super effective. Sableye's only weakness is Fairy. We fire off the Power Gem. That takes care of Umbreon. We've got 2 shields versus this Mighty Blue Mouse. I think the win con for the opponent would be attempting to bubble farm me down. They throw a charge move, which works for me. I'm going to go straight Power Gem. 2 Power Gems will be knocking out Azu. The first one gets them into the deep yellow. We're looking to commit to the next Power Gem. Sableye does survive, and Sableye is an Azumeril counter confirmed. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we see Metachan. The basic bitch fighter in the lead. I think Meta Chandler is actually really good this season as two of the buff Pokemons are incredibly weak to it in Dewgong and Sandslash. We fire off the lunge on a CMP tie to the Ice Punch. Debuffed Ice Punch doesn't do all that much damage. We're going to CMP tie again to the next charge, and this lunge won't be lethal, but it is going to double debuff them on attack. The opponent tanks it. We're just going to let Galvantula go down. We've got ourselves shield advantage and put them into a nice range where we can farm them down. I come into Quag. The opponent doesn't want to get farmed down and send out Stunfisk. The opponent might be double steal. Either way, Sableye is going to be good against whatever's in the back if that is the case. We fire off the Mud Bomb. The opponent has enough for an Earthquake. I correctly shield that up. I can then overfarm heavily before firing off the next Mud Bomb. This Mud Bomb will be lethal. The opponent chooses to shield it up, and that is a huge mistake, as then fire off the next Mud Bomb on the CMP tie. The opponent is now all shields down. The opponent does have double steal in the back. I overfarm by one, and the opponent still makes a savage catch. Nicely played. However, that catch is definitely not going to save the opponent. I'm not even going to respect this. We do tank any one move. The Quagman gonna make the Mud Bomb. I don't know if Mud Bomb is lethal, as this is the first time I've used Quag, as it's only just released, doesn't quite one-shot. I pivot out into Sableye, and we Shadow Claw farm down for the dub. Moving on to the next one. Galvantula into Azumeril. So 4-turn versus 3-turn is really awkward. Ideally, you want to throw after 2 Volt switches, which is 8 turns versus 9 turns, or on 5 Volt switches, which is 20 turns versus 21. However, if I see Azumeril in the lead, I will just throw the discharge immediately, as I want the opponent to make the first shielding decision. The opponent now safe switches into Trevadent. We land the lunge. I pivot out into Sableye. Now they're debuffed. We easily survive a Shadow Ball. After that, we're going to be able to Shadow Claw, farm them down. We've both got a shield apiece. If the opponent returns with Azumeril, we are going to be able to make a Power Gem. The opponent actually sends out Talonflame. And do they know there's no baits on this channel? I full send the Power Gem. The Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death gets absolutely wrecked. The opponent's putting all their hopes and dreams on the back of Azumeril. I come into Galvantula, forcing the opponent to throw. We're just going to allow Galvantula to go down and let Quag have its moment. I think there's 0 win con for the opponent at this stage. Again, I'm getting some stutter lag. I am going to shield up a potential Hydro Pump, as I wasn't actually counting. I was getting a bit tilted. Again, we lag. However, we make the Stone Edge. Stone Edge will be lethal. The opponent shields it up, and again, I'm going to throw the Stone Edge, as it does more damage, and Azumeril is super thick. GG's. So those were the battles with the team that I think is the strongest Triple Shadow team in this meta. Last season, I was using Swampert instead of Quag. However, Quag's buffed, so we gave it a try. I think Quag is pretty good. I'm not sure if it's as good as 12th, like PvPoke suggests, but it is pretty good regardless. Galvantula, what an absolute monster anti-meta pick. If you're looking for something fun, try out this pesky spider, and Shadow Sableye speaks for itself. I've been harping on about this Pokemon all the way since Season 8. A few people have started to invest, so if you've got a good one, or even a high attack, if you use like a 15 attack, you reach a Shadow Claw breakpoint against Azumeril, and you can win CMP against Swampert and Venusaur, which I think is really clutch. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. I personally am getting on a plane to Cyprus for my sister's wedding. I leave in like 3 hours. So content from myself, or as in my gameplay, is going to be limited. However, I will try and do some shoutcasts while I'm away. So if you've got some fun battles, send them over and I'll look to feature you. So huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.